Hey, everybody. Kevin here with Pursuing Pixels, and welcome back to another edition of Save It for the Cast. And as per usual, we'll be getting to the video game chit-chat with John, Randall, and I here in just a second, or in just a minute or two anyways. And yeah, we get into quite a bit of conversational stuff for this one. There's definitely some Elden Ring talk up front, because I've really been enjoying following John and Randall's journey through that game. And I think this conversation is actually from a little bit before, whatever the full episode we put out where we talked about it last on a non-Save It for the Cast episode. So this is a little bit before. So it's just kind of fun to follow their journey and go back and edit some of these conversations and hear how their thoughts have evolved throughout the process. So yeah, we'll get into some Elden Ring, but we really get into all sorts of stuff. We get into VR, Half-Life Alyx, just a little bit, and Formula One racing and just all sorts of stuff, Mario costumes. So yeah, we'll be getting into that in just a sec. But I did want to give a shout out to our buddy Kevin Cole over at Super Try Games, who took 4 hours out of his day the other day to sync up with me and play some a bunch of his games, or a bunch of their games, because there's a decent little team. Kevin's the main kind of head honcho or force behind the crew over at Super Try, but he's definitely got some help on the story and the music, and depends on each project actually. But we've actually had him on the podcast in the past and talked about a bunch of his games and his process and whatever. So it was really fun to jump in and play through 5. I think we dug into 5 different games from Super Try, including one that is not even out yet. It's technically out for their Patreon subscribers, and they can check out the current build of the game, I believe. But it should be coming out in the relatively near future, and they've made games of all shapes and sizes, and we've really dug into Hack, which is Haque, on the podcast in the past. And back when DJ was on the podcast all the time, him and I really dug into that one, and I know he beat that game. I never even came close, but it's a really kind of Hack that is a top-down traditional roguelike RPG, and I say traditional with a grain of salt because there's a ton of quirks and uniqueness to the game, tons and tons, but it definitely kind of, it's not like a Downwell or a more arcadey roguelike, although it feels arcadey even though it is turn-based. But this new game called Below definitely kind of has that same feel and flavor that Hack has, with a totally different vibe and ambiance, and there's definitely a totally different game here. But it's definitely if you're a fan of Hack, I'd say it's very safe to say that you will probably be a fan of this game. It's almost even a little bit more simplified, which is more to my liking, just in the sense that it's as much as I was looking forward to possibly diving into Hack on the stream with Kevin, which we didn't get around to. I was worried that I'm going to have to refamiliarize myself with all the rules and the controls. It's been a little while. This feels like it's more it's actually designed to be played on touchscreens or on mobile devices, but we were playing on PC, so with mouse, and you can use spacebar to confirm, but there's also a big juicy almost it looks like a stone block that you push in if you want to use all mouse controls to confirm your actions and whatever. But you basically start the game with one of 4 random characters, but they're not totally randomized. They're 4 kind of characters that have their own specific abilities and classes, and you pick one of those, and then as you keep clearing floors, you just move down. As soon as you clear all the enemies on a floor, you just move to the next one, and then you get a few narrative beats and a few different decisions you have to make, and some of those are narrative beats where it's just okay, get a little story, or just skip to the, go right to the offering, or go right to the boss battle or whatever. And then there's different scenarios where you get to pick between one of 2 buffs, or maybe even one of 3 buffs, and then also add characters to your party. Again, there's 4 total characters, at least for the time being. Again, this game's currently in development, but you only by the end of the game, I made it to the final boss on the last run that we did. I wasn't able to beat the final boss, but I was able to make it down, and by the end you have 3 characters in your party, and it's just, I don't know, I really liked how the decision making is boiled down to I don't know, again, with Hack, not that this is a bad thing, but you have so many decisions you can make. And with Below, I felt it was a little more streamlined. Even as I was kind of talking to Kevin and conversing with him and asking him questions about the game, I was able to kind of parse what was going on. And I was fumbling my way through a couple, there were definitely some decisions where I was ooh, that was a bad call. But you don't get brutally punished, and you don't feel you have to grind for 20 runs before you unlock certain abilities and buffs that you can then, have in future runs. It's I felt again, on that second or third run where I made it to the boss, it's oh man, I almost could have beat this. So I was just beyond impressed with this game. Like, even if it was not like, oh, hey, it's rough, currently in development. If it was just like, hey, this game is done, here it is, check it out, I would have been just as pumped. Like, I really have no reservations. I know Kevin was saying like, oh, I'm going to take some of this, work on some balancing things, and this will be good feedback on his end. But yeah, I just can't rave about this game enough. It's got a really great understated like synth vibey soundtrack with some really chunky, like even chunkier than hack pixel art, and like really almost like a gaudy like pink and gray aesthetic, that like gaudy in the best way. Like, I just don't know what other word to use for it, but it's just, oh man, that was just such a fun stream. And again, we were on for like 4 hours. We played through 5 different games of all shapes and sizes. Like, again, what they're doing over there at Super Try is just incredible. And again, I can't thank Kevin enough for taking so much time out of his day for a second time, because he took a huge chunk of his time out of his day when we recorded those couple episodes of the podcast a few months back, or probably close to a year ago now at this point. But yeah, I was planning on digging into some other stuff, but we got a pretty meaty save it for the cast here coming up. So I will say that I did on a few streams recently as well, though, play through Super Mario World, thanks to a suggestion, not a personal suggestion, but on a YouTube video, SNES Drunk, which is one of the few channels I still like pretty regularly keep up with these days, although I don't watch every single video. But anyways, a long time ago, or a while ago, whenever, he put out a video that was talking about like ways you could mix up playing the classics, and mentioned playing Super Mario World, going for, or not even necessarily going for all 96 exits, but playing through the game without activating the Switch Palaces, so you don't have like those few safety nets throughout the game, and like there's like a lot of places where the green blocks give you a cape or the yellow ones give you a mushroom. Mostly I feel like it's more about the safety nets than the abilities, but there were definitely quite a few levels where I was like, oh man, I never realized how much like just giving you that cape at the beginning, or just boxing in this enemy so you don't have to deal with it. Even in some of the later stages, it's like, man, I'm surprised they let you kind of like, or I'm surprised how much easier it makes the game. It's not crazy, but there were moments where I was like, this game is almost like a bullet hell, like dodging all these boos flying over the screen, and like especially that one stage where they're just like dive bombing you in one of those ghost houses. Like it was just so much fun. And then I had to get all 96 to get the star on the title screen, so I did go back and finish the 5 Switch Palaces at the very end. But that was just such a fun way to play through the game, and it really did add a significant amount of challenge. And even just playing through the game regular, I mean, it's not the hardest game ever, and you can rack up lives, so it's not like you're getting game overs or whatever all the time, or at least I'm not. But I was really kind of pleasantly surprised by how difficult the game was for a game that I've played, 20, 30, maybe even 50 times at this point. I mean, it's one of my all-time favorites, one of the first games I ever had. I really can't say enough good things about it, that I can still play it to this day and love it just as much as I ever did, pretty much, if not even more. But there's even some, without doing the Switch Palaces, like especially on those special like Star Road levels and like the special world levels after that, like you have to do some pretty crafty maneuvering to like get the second exits on those stages, or even just the main exit, and beat those stages. But oh man, I just can't say it. I could gush about Super Mario World for a whole separate episode, but yeah, I'm going to leave it there and toss it over to John Randall and I for some more video game chat. But again, stay tuned on the YouTube channel or the Twitch. I'm definitely going to be publishing those. I'm going to split up the video that we did with Kevin Cole into it, so it's not just a big like 4-hour brick, and probably split it up into the 5 individual games and upload those. And we're hoping to do more of these interview, like live stream, let's play and chat. I don't know what to call them, but I'm really hoping to keep the ball rolling with these, because they've been a ton of fun, and they've just been awesome to like kind of connect with the developers a little more in depth than just being like, hey, your game's really cool. So yeah, it's just been a ton of fun. Can't thank the developers enough for hanging out with us. And yeah, I'm going to toss it to John Randall and I here, because I've done more than enough rambling at this point. So yeah, stay tuned and take care, and we'll catch you next week. But I was like, if he does come on, I played a little Bug Snacks the other day, because that just came to Game Pass. Pretty fun so far. I haven't played enough, and I don't know that I'll play more right off the bat, but it definitely had like I was kind of getting the vibes of like oh, I could get like that Journey to the Savage Planet / Slime Rancher vibe, like in the sense that it's like a first person shooter with like a little more, just like a different vibe than a first person shooter. Like it's not really a shooter, but it doesn't have that same like zany, or I don't even know if zany is the right word, but that it doesn't have the energy that Journey to the Savage Planet has. Yeah. Although it's very much its own, and I can't put my finger on it, but like the main kind of character that you're interacting with at first, it's kind of walking you through the ropes. I'm like, is this the voice of the guy who does the voice for Morty and Rick and Morty? And I can't like not think that. I don't know if it is or isn't, but interesting. The whole time I'm just like, is that him? Is that not him? I don't know. And it's kind of like taking me out of the game experience a little bit. Yeah.
I sent Kevin a bunch of like stuff from what we call Elden Ring,
nice.
Just to give him so that he has like some shred of context,
just a slight frame of reference. Which honestly, that boss battle was sweet.
So, Randall, what is the last either area you beat or boss that you beat? Or the last few.
What's the last boss that I beat?
Are you both still on it like pretty regularly, playing it on the reg? Yeah,
I try to be. I've definitely I've had a hard time finding time lately.
Yeah, but I didn't want to like spoil anything.
What's the last boss that I beat? Why is this so difficult?
Was it in Liurna, Limgrave, Caelid?
Did most of Limgrave. So what I've been doing basically is once I got through Stormvale, I could finally like make my way north up the west coast basically of the map. That's kind of what I've like slowly been spending my time doing now, because for the first 50-60 hours I was slowly just working my way around the south area of the map,
right?
Just exclusively basically, and like tiptoeing into waters that I shouldn't be.
Okay. I think I sent Kevin a boss battle that you have not encountered
probably
yet, then. Okay, interesting.
Oh, I'm glad I didn't say anything.
I know that's why I was kind of like trying to head you off
said
at the pass. Is like, do we want to table the Elden Ring discussion for a little bit more, or do we want to like do a whole like just do the anniversary this session?
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah, we can chat about it a little right now for the hell of it, because I might trim some of this for a save it.
True.
Save it for the cast. So if you guys have more to say, but yeah, I was like worried about it. I was like, I don't want to say anything, even though I would have just made like the same dumb joke I made to you in our text thread. But yeah, I'm pulling up that map again right now,
dude. Okay,
which is ridiculous that like John sent me this map that like it gave
auto. So Randall, what it did was it gave a bookmark like how they do in Google Maps, where it like shows like the thing, but it does basically literally every interactable object.
Oh my god.
So what it does when it's like moderately zoomed out, the entire thing's just full. Like it is literally obscuring the entire map, which is like I laughed like out loud when I saw it. I'm like, well, this is actually kind of good for like obscuring, like you're not going to get spoilers because there's just literally too much information.
And that's what I would assume, like the density of the experience means that you can't walk, I don't know. Yeah, even on your horse, you're going like 10 strides, you're going to run into something else interesting.
And like that's the thing is like it also does it at so many, like it's kind of a little bit of the not Xenosaga, Xenoblade, where like you will see something like that is like in Xenoblade, it's like, okay, I'm level 10 and literally above this enemy is level 150. So like I know like I will just not fuck with that thing.
Stay and like clear wide berth around that monster.
And like I recently went back to the very first area where there is that knight on the horse, and I beat that for the first time.
By that church, and it's kind of patrolling back and forth on that path. I've tried to mess with that guy and I've gotten close, but I'm like, nah.
Like, but that's the thing is like there's so many of those that it's just like, okay, I'm gonna test the waters. Like I'm right by like Site of Grace. I can die and come back here.
Absolutely.
Like, oh man, there's so many. Have you found a golem yet?
Not like the golems. You mean for like the not those keys, the statue keys or whatever those are called. You're not talking about those, right?
No, those are imps.
Yeah. That's right.
So, yes. So there's I'm trying to think of like how to describe like the scale. So there's like the soldier size enemies.
Yeah.
Then there are the troll size enemies.
Yeah.
Then there are the golem sized enemies. And the golem
these are the size. These are the size ranks.
But I mean, it's not it's not specifically the ranks, but that's kind of like what like it's the way that like the progression from like soldier to a troll and then troll to golem is like comparable.
Yes, no, I've fought those for sure because they've got their belly is like their yes.
It's like and that's a weak point.
Yes,
but you have to have a ranged weapon in order to beat. Oh my god, I've finally gone back to like the early areas and fought some of those and like.
See, I didn't beat those with a ranged weapon. I just used my big stupid hammer and I just broke his stance and then I smash him in the belly.
Oh, it's such a God, it's such a fun, satisfying. But like, so like I've done the thing that we talked about last time where I just like have been pushing further and further like past like areas that I'm clearly not supposed to go just to unlock sites of grace, like and just be like, all right, it won't let me go this way, let me try a different way. All right, I can go this way. And like
I've done that, and you can occasionally grab like sacred tears or other things that you probably shouldn't have otherwise, but it helps. So
it's so good. Oh my god, yeah. And golden seeds,
yes, God. And the golden seeds,
so good. But like
there
are basically, I think, technically 3 maps that I haven't unlocked.
Nice.
Otherwise, but that's the other thing is that like I haven't done any of like the either quest lines in any of those areas. I've just been like pushing as far as I can. And especially once you get to like the final couple areas, like they'll have golems just everywhere and the golems with arrows will just like pick you off from completely across the map. Like, you're not getting past us.
And like, their arrows are practically rockets because they're gigantic.
Oh my god, kill you and your horse in one hit. It's
I do like how it sounds almost like the way that I would explore in Breath of the Wild, but then like
totally
like maybe find like a Korok seed or whatever like random like thing. It sounds like in this it's just like, oh, maybe there's a boss over here or like it's just like anywhere you go there's like a boss instead of a secret. Although there's secrets too, obviously.
Oh yeah.
But it's also like there's like entire sub areas. Like it's kind of like and this is like definitely something I want to touch on more is like this is kind of the evolution of open world games where like you had Skyrim, which was a bunch of empty space, and then you had Breath of the Wild, which was a bunch of empty space but filled with secrets. Yeah. And then like this is just like, okay, instead of like just here's like a small secret, here's an entire sub area. And like there are like as I'm like pushing the limits of the map, I'm going past is like, okay, this is just an entire fucking village that I'm just skipping right now. I'll come back to this later. And then it's like, okay, this is an entire dungeon. I'm like more so than just like, oh, here's like a cave I'm going to. No, like here's an entirely like fully fleshed out area that is this game is just unbelievably huge, and
let alone it is, let alone like the sub areas that you can
within those areas
sub areas within those areas that you can accidentally like teleport to other whole areas of the map through ways you would not expect.
Oh, that is honestly one of my favorite things is just how much you get slingshotted around the map by like those gates in particular, but there's also just like plenty of chests that are traps that are transporter trap, and then you'll end up in a completely different area in the map. Oh, it's such a fucking good game. God damn.
And you can't like I'm assuming you can't just like go back through the gate and go back.
No,
well, some of them you can, but others are one-way trips that you just kind of. But then like you like either have to make it to above ground where you can teleport. But like, I also want to be like, but I want to unlock a site of grace in this new area so that I can teleport back here. So like, I just poke around and explore. It's such a fucking good command.
Chest teleport was the first time I fought a golem was because of a chest teleportation.
God. What a fucking good game.
Mm-hmm.
Like and that's the thing is like I don't want to talk about it right now because there's just so much more in this game. And like I feel like if I start talking about it now, I'm like, well, yeah, but then there's going to be so much more that I'm going to want to talk about later. And there's so much more that
I want. There's like one path leads to another, you know?
Oh yeah.
Right.
It's endless.
I sent Kevin also like so like how Stormvale was like a choke point for unlocking the map, like after you beat Godric, basically. I mean, you can skip Godric because like I found a way around Stormvale.
I beat him.
Nice.
I beat him. Yeah. Yeah.
That one was not nearly as bad as Margit, but it was still rough.
But he's so slow comparatively. It's like,
God, yeah. Margit's just jumping around.
Yes.
Like, let me just launch myself. Anyway.
Yes.
But after Stormvale, like basically I think every boss becomes optional. Like there are so many. I mean,
wow.
Or once you get to like the next choke point, there's like 2 or 3 ways past.
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's amazing, though.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
So I got to the next area, like not through the, I don't know, main quest line, but then at that point, what becomes a main quest line if everything becomes optional? Like
bingo.
It's so God. Oh man. But yeah, so like I'm at the point where I'm going back to, because also there's still stuff in Stormvale that I haven't done. Like that is also just too hard for me, even though I've beaten all of the bosses in there. There's just regular enemies that are too hard.
Oh yeah, the way that they're placed around that, it can be tense. Yeah.
What a fucking good game.
It's great. It's wonderful.
I can't wait to play another 200 hours of this fucker.
I just can't even imagine putting that much time into a game these days.
I know. That's the thing. Is like I'm not playing anything else. Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
This one's worth it.
I just beat Steel Assault today.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with that game. I don't think it's developed by Tribute Games, but it's published by them.
Okay.
Who did like Flint Hook, and they're doing that new Turtles game.
Yeah.
And it's got pixel art like on that level. So I don't know if they like helped out in that regard or whatever, but it's like the pixel art's like some of the best I've ever seen. It's like, it's nuts. It's like, and it's kind of like, I don't know. It's almost like Mega Man X meets Castlevania meets Contra. Like it's kind of like a run and gun. And I say Castlevania because you have this kind of like electrified whip, but then you have like this grapple hook, but it's more like a zip line. So it has to be connected to either 2 walls or the ceiling and the floor. And then you can kind of like climb up it like a ladder or like zip line across it. Like, I don't know why I'm picturing Contra, but yeah. Like in Contra, those sections where you're like hanging from the helicopter or whatever, like it kind of works like that. Essentially, but there's like, and there even are sections where you're like on a boss battle, like on some kind of airship, and you have to like jump down underneath it and grab like on the little bottom like legs of it with your zip line while like bombs are dropping on the top of the ship, and then jump back up top. But it's a pretty cool game. But yeah, I beat the whole game in like an hour and a half, so or maybe 2 hours. But it's like that's my kind of.
I don't hear anything wrong with that. That sounds great too.
I'm all about it. Like I will say like I can't remember. I bought the game on sale, so I don't know how much it runs normal, like full price. So it is pretty short. Like I could see it's only like 5 levels, I think. So I could see being like, man, I wish there was more, because I kind of, when the game ended, I kind of had a feeling like, oh, is this like a halfway point and there's going to be more? And then I was like, no, just credits roll, no new game plus or anything, at least that I could find. But
are there
still
multiple
awesome
character options or just the one?
Just the main character, yeah. And it's very like Ninja Gaiden presentation, those real like flashy cutscenes, and it's very like 32x on the pixel art. Like,
hell yeah.
And it's very, it's just like you can do like a slide where you're like invincible for a quick second, and then that zip line, and then you have a double jump. It's I don't know, just a really fluid and really hard game, but with really nice, really like well set checkpoints. Though it was a little bit annoying where like sometimes for like a boss battle, you'd like get to a boss and like there'd be a little lead up section before that, and then after you die, you'd have to go back, play that little lead up section and watch the little cutscene again. And like they're short enough to where it didn't get in the way, but it was like, man, if I really got stuck on some of these for longer than I did, I could see that getting annoying after a while. Like the final boss, I was like, come on. Again, I got to watch this cutscene again and the mid cutscene again.
Yeah.
So that was a little annoying, but other than that, it was awesome.
Difficulty wise, would you put it on the level of like a Cyber Shadow type of experience, or is it?
I would maybe like a smidge easier, but I only say that because I didn't play enough Cyber Shadow. But because when I played, I remember the only reason I stopped, I think, is because I was getting my ass kicked, and I was like, and not in a way where I was like I couldn't beat it, but I was like, I'm not in the frame of mind, or like not in the right headspace to play this game right now. But I really want to go back to that one because I loved everything about that one.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, this was one that like was on my wish list forever. I think I mentioned recently, I had that like Nintendo eShop card that I got for my belated Christmas trip home. So I was like, I might as well snag Filament. Played a little bit of that too, which is pretty fun. It's like a top-down spaceship game.
Nice.
Or actually, you're just like a person like exploring the insides of a spaceship, and then you like connect to these terminals, and it's more like a puzzle game.
Nice.
Pretty cool. Pretty hard already. Like even the early puzzles are like, oh man, these are some head scratchers.
Nice.
You said Steel Assault. I immediately thought of Steel Diver, the launch 3DS game for some reason.
Oh yeah, from Nintendo, right?
Yeah.
That one. I bet you it was like addictive. I never played that one. Did you?
Yeah, I did a little bit. Yeah, I think there might have even been a demo at that time. I played that a bit.
There might have been. Yeah, there might have been. But I never gave it a chance.
Wow, yeah. No, I was thinking of Steel Battalion.
Steel Battalion. I was so jealous of the kids that had Steel Battalion. That's a rig.
That's not Battalion Wars related, is it?
No, Steel Battalion was the original Xbox tank mech. It was a mech experience.
Okay.
And you had this massive controller.
But it controlled like they were trying to make it as like clunky is one way to describe it, but like as deliberate as
like you feel the weight of the mech like in the controls.
This is the Steel Battalion controller. Let me see if I can get
Oh my god. Yeah.
And there's tons of buttons and switches and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Oh my god! Like this is an actual HUD like display on this controller with
a controller,
a throttle, and like oh my god, this rules.
I wanted it pretty bad, but I just couldn't. I was living in 700 square feet, and I could not justify.
Yeah, now that's why have I'm sure they have, but I was gonna say why have they not made a mech VR game yet? Because that seems like it would be ideal. Like,
oh my god, yeah, with the like move and like just like oh my god,
because you could just fly around and you could just zip around.
They did.
There's literally a Steel Battalion for Kinect that came out.
Does Kinect count as VR?
I mean, no,
it kind of does.
It's within reason, kind of the similar.
It's in the same ballpark.
Yeah. I guess it's
same
not
DNA.
full VR because then you at least with VR you would have still tangible controls to some degree.
It just seems like it would be actually cool. Like, because sometimes I'm not the biggest fan of
Kinect. You couldn't play it without Kinect.
Yes.
Well, I'm not the biggest fan, even though it looks cool and stuff when you're playing like Metroid Prime or whatever. Obviously, there's better looking games than that. But like when you're playing that and you have like the mask and the visor and like and the rain's coming down or like your breath's like fogging up the mask. Like that's pretty cool and whatever. But it gets old for me at least pretty quick. But like in VR, I feel like that would be awesome, man.
Yeah.
Like in a mech and flying, like literally just zipping around, and you wouldn't like the teleporting aspect would kind of just make sense. You could just actually just like hover instead, maybe or something. I don't know. I just feel like it could work.
I mean, because
like your brain wouldn't get disoriented.
Like if you are the pilot in a mech, you don't need to move, so you could potentially do VR while like sitting.
Whoa.
Yeah, because you would. I'm assuming when you play like a racing VR game, like you're moving.
I mean,
in real time, you know, and it
would make sense. Like if you're like moving like a throttle for. Oh god,
that's what I mean. Give me like that Steel Battalion controller, but the VR is mapped to expect you to have that controller, right?
Yes.
And then otherwise, you'd be in the mech. You would be in the mech at that point because it would feel right.
Well, you know what's shocking to me is like the little bit of Half-Life Alyx. I'm sure we talked about this when we talked about it on the podcast, but like it was shocking to me how many of those parts of that game, like where it was just me like grabbing a fake invisible VR lever and like moving it or lifting it, like it really felt like I was like, it felt way more tangible than I would imagine. So yeah, imagine if you actually had the tangible controls,
I know.
but like a cool thing mapped out like visually where it doesn't just look like this clunky thing on your desk.
Oh my god.
Oh, imagine like wall running and shit in Titanfall and all that stuff.
But again, like I would love it to be like a like vehicle. So like the one that you don't need to like feel the need, like, cause like that was the thing with Half-Life Alyx. Like you do kind of have to like, okay, I'm going to like point myself into like this next little box and then I can move around in that little box. Whereas like if I'm just piloting a vehicle, then like, oh God.
It just feels like your brain could disconnect from it enough where you wouldn't get motion sick or,
and then
or whatever,
when you're moving your head around, like that's doing wonders for the microphone that's picking me up as I'm doing this. But like move your head around and like see out of the cockpit and like crane it so that you could see like like you're backing up in a car. Oh God!
I really want to play a racing game in VR. Bad.
That would be cool too.
That would really
like bad. Even a game like, because I know Race the Sun is in VR. Even though it seems like terrifying, just smashing into those buildings. Thankfully, it's not super realistic, but it's like, oh, let me just go at a blistering speed and like as the sun goes down into my oblivion.
Yeah, I think that was an issue with F1 with like during the pandemic, like right when it started, and like they were doing it in like VR, but like it was also causing problems because they were doing it in VR and not in real life. Like the drivers were being way more reckless.
I heard that. I do remember that. They were like a little riskier, bumping each other a little more.
And like things that would absolutely kill them if they were doing it in real life. And then they're like, okay, we need to establish some rules because like you're doing things that would be absolutely illegal if you were doing this in real life, but because it's like there's no stakes really, like oh man.
Oh man,
we're that future's not too far away for the mainstream, I don't think.
Yeah Pretty crazy, man. Crazy times.
Oh, what order do we want to do the Annie in?
I was telling you earlier, John, I feel like I want to at least let Randall go before me on the slightly off chance that we have the same game in mind.
I don't want to spoil it for you, Kevin, but I very highly doubt it.
No. And I feel like I take the lead. I feel like I take the lead on like every episode anyways, like whether I'm doing Save It for the Cast, obviously, but then like even on lately, I'm always like, oh, let me talk about my shit first. So,
I mean, we tend to just put the discussions at the end. That's how we end up doing it. So like, it's easier to do like, here's a game that I've completed and can summarize like that. Just like is a good format, like to put that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm fine with whatever order. It just seems unbelievable to me that I haven't mentioned this game.
I looked it up 3 times today. I was like, there's no way that neither me or Randall has talked about this game. And I know there's no way that it hasn't been mentioned.
Right.
But I was like, John is pretty litigious about that spreadsheet. Like,
but that's the thing is like
brought up in even if it gets brought up more than 2 sentences, I feel like you add it to the list.
That's the thing is like, if it's just like a comparison, or it's like, or like, this game is like this previous game in the series.
This meets this.
Doesn't
like,
count.
Then I'm like, I'm not going to put that. But like, if we like, talk a little bit about like, oh, this is the like impact that this game, or these are the themes that were in this game, like,
Yeah, or if we sidestep enough to like, hey, we kind of went on a little tangent about this game real quick. Yeah. Because sometimes I'm shocked. I'm like, oh, I'm surprised John has this on the list. And then I'm happy to have it. Like to be like, oh, yeah, that was on this episode. Because I don't timestamp every single thing that we talk about.
It happens a lot more for like games that are a part of a larger series. Like any of like the Donkey Kong games or Mario games. Like I'm sure like we have like if someone like was like, oh, I want to listen to this episode where they're talking about Super Mario World, and they're like, that's it.
Yeah. let me hear the hot takes from Pursuing Pixels on Mario 3.
Yeah.
Hey, I really like the raccoon suit in Mario 3. It's cool. Man.
Yeah, that and the frog suit. Yeah, pretty great.
Real under the radar shit.
Best costumes in the series. Yeah. That's all I got to say about that kid. Okay. Which is kind of true. I do love the suits are maybe the best in that game.
The frog suit.
Not the best power-ups, but the best looking suits. Like
frog suit, Tanuki suit, very adorable.
I will say
I never even knew that
power-ups and worst suits, Galaxy. Spring Mario is the worst.
Oh, I kind of like that. I like the level Mario design. I like the level design around it. I like the level design.
B suit Mario, is that 2? Is that Galaxy 2?
That's Galaxy 1 and 2, I think.
What's wrong with B-Suit Mario?
B-Suit's great.
Fine, but it's like that
so
weird flying in 3D space that's just
It was a little odd, yeah.
Like, someone hasn't played enough Buck Bumble, apparently.
Oh my god. Now I have to add Buck Bumble to the spreadsheet.
That was my game, guys. That was my game.
The Buck Bumble.
Okay, I know that we've sung that theme song on the podcast before, but I literally I want to see if we put Buck. Okay, we have not.
Buck Bumble.
I'm surprised it didn't come up in like our N64 random chats.
Mr. Mosquito on PlayStation 2. You know, these sort of experiences.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I only know that
when every game
Japanese
had to have a mascot.
Name, Ka.
That's Mr. Mosquito?
Yes.
What are these games, man?
Dude.
PS1, that era, like particularly PS1, because N64, I feel like they like kind of
they kind of bled over into PS2.
Oh, it definitely did.
Because like there was, there was like
maybe I just didn't pay enough attention.
There wasn't any rhyme or reason to what was getting ported over. It was kind of like at the whims of whatever publisher had enough money and was like, why not?
Very much so.
There was less of a fear of like, I don't know if this is gonna fly in America.
I mean, especially Nintendo with PS2, was definitely it's like literally everyone has this. Like, chances are someone's gonna buy this.
Yep.
And Nintendo is like, I feel like they've gotten way better about it, but they were always like kind of weird and like gatekeepy about like what should come to America, or what should come to the West.
Cold hard business decisions.
Yeah. Although again, it's so, especially after stuff like Operation Rainfall and seeing how like successful Xenoblade's been and stuff.
Yeah,
it's like, if they would have just gotten behind like the super Japanese games like that they didn't support and bring over here in the past, like I'm sure they would have taken off, and you might even see even more serious. You know, what I mean?
Yeah.
Who knows what the landscape would be like?
This, not to spoil, but with this discussion should be saved for the cast.
Yes. Okay.
Specifically.